The advantages of going to Xavier is that you're going to succeed. Yes, you have your coursework, but that real world experience, you can't get that in a book. I knew I needed that, and I'm so glad I made the decision and pushed going to Xavier.
From the Office of Institutional Advancement and Alumni Relations, it's Xavier Gold Live, the podcast, bringing you stories of leadership, impact, and the Xavier spirit. What's new, XU? I'm Tashia Hogue.
And I'm Jalen Jones. We're both student journalists from Xavier's Mass Communications Department and are excited to bring you a podcast where we connect with our Xavier community through conversation.
In each episode, we bring you intimate interviews with standout alumni who will give us a glimpse into their unique Xavier experience.
Welcome home, Xavierites. We're thrilled to kick off homecoming week by welcoming all alumni back to campus, back to where it all began. Get ready for a week full of connection, celebration, and unforgettable memories. Be sure to join us at the tailgate from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. for live interviews on stage with two exceptional Xavierites, Louisiana State Senator Royce Duplessis and Leslie Honore, poet, activist, author, CEO of Urban Gateways, and co-chair of Elevated Chicago. There will be music, giveaways, and more. Don't miss out. Now, let's jump into this episode of the Xavier Gold Live podcast, recorded at the National Alumni Leadership Conference in Washington, D.C., with Tashia and Tamara McLemore.
Today we are in for a treat as we connect with Tamara McLemore, a fellow mass communications Xavierite reigning from the class of 1997. She is Chief Impact Officer of a project management institute where she educates and molds future project managers of tomorrow. By elevating the professional status of those who want to grow and succeed in their field, she's a mentor on the Professional Growth Committee. She embodies the spirit of a Xavierite by spreading her 20 years of experience through workshops that promote leadership skills to communities locally and internationally. Let's welcome Mrs. Tamara McLemore to the Xavier Gold Live podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I am super excited.
Again, we want to just thank you so much for connecting with us through conversation and joining us today. I just love being in the presence of those who ran so that I could walk. Exceptional alumna who've come before me. Not only have you graduated from the mass communication department at a predominantly STEM-focused institution, but you've shown me that I can too be successful in my field and utilize my degree. We'd love to start right off by giving our listeners just a little POV, if you will, a glimpse into what your day-to-day may look like. In your eyes, you say everyone is a project manager, but what is project managing outside of organizing and executing a project?
Yes, you're absolutely correct. I believe everybody's a project manager. So a project is when you execute from beginning to end and everything in between. Everybody's executing projects, whether it is your day-to-day job, your nonprofit, your household. We are all doing project management. And when you have the exact tools to actually execute more effectively and efficiently, you are rocking and rolling. So like I said, everybody's a project manager in my eyes.
Give me some insight on what those day-to-day executions look like.
Planning is my number one thing. I'm a hip hop head, so I have to quote Biggie, it was all a dream. A lot of people stop at it was all a dream in initiation and planning, but project management is all about getting things done. So everybody has those to-do lists in our phone, in our tablets every day. Project management is about executing, checking those boxes, actually taking action, whether you're doing it yourself, whether you're delegating to someone else to do, it is getting things done. So that is project management. And the satisfaction of going to bed at night, knowing that you got your things to-do list done is like amazing. You sleep well. It's a form of self-care. Project management is a form of self-care.
Yes, and I love that you have that balance. Not only that being your passion within your profession, but you're also filling your cup with the work that you're doing. For someone in the role of CIO, that's Chief Impact Officer, in the organization whose main focus is improvement, How do you navigate changing the mindset of individuals who lack skills?
A lot of people focus on their weaknesses. And when I worked for the federal government, we took a Strength Finder class. And the premise behind Strength Finder is to, instead of, once again, I'm a mass comm major at Xavier. And so science was not my thing. Math is not my thing. I manage $150 million projects and I barely know Excel. I'm just keeping it real. However, my strength is getting people to do hard tasks that they may not do every day. And so the premise behind Strength Finder is whatever your strength is, that's what you accentuate. That's what you do more of. So if I was to ask the listeners, what percentage of project management is communication, probably no one would get the answer. But the answer is 90 to 100%. So that's why me as a mass comm major, I excel in project management and have for 20 years because all it is executing and communicating. Focusing on your strengths rather than your weaknesses. You hire for your weakness and you accentuate your strengths.
Once you graduated with your degree in mass communications, what did you initially aspire to do with your degree?
I'm going to date myself a little bit, but I wanted to be a sports reporter, and not just any sports reporter. I wanted to get those hard stories. I wanted to be able to go in the locker room. So Hannah Storm, I believe she was the first female allowed in the locker room. So we know that after the locker room, the story's over. And back then, women weren't allowed. I wanted to be Oprah. I wanted to be in reporting. However, when I got out of school, my aunt worked for MCI WorldCom, and she told me to get into technology. So I've never actually worked in the field per se, but I've been in technology, mass comm, project management for over 20 years. I've done corporate, I've done federal government, I've done airline, I've done consulting, you name it, I've done it. I've even done projects at a law firm. So everybody needs a project manager.
Mass communication is just such a wide range. It's a wide umbrella of things that is really involved in everything. With your wide-ranging expertise and involvement in numerous businesses and organizations that you just spoke on, how do you tailor situations specific to businesses and maintain the balance among your different responsibilities?
Delegating. Delegating is key. I manage so much, but finding the right fit on my team, on my project teams. So people think project management, you're doing it yourself. No. When I'm in an organization, sometimes I have 50 to 150 people, not just in the U.S., that's worldwide. In India, Malaysia, the UK, you name it, I have people that are on these projects. So it is not just about me executing. It is a team effort. It is a team sport. So I love project management because of that. I do not have to do it myself. And that is a myth that a lot of people think that you have to do everything yourself. That is a huge myth. And I want to add one thing. When I worked for the federal government, I was in contracting. And to Xavier's credit, when I was in the attorney's office, I did get a protest and I would always have to write 75-page acquisitions. And the federal government's attorneys would always turn to me and say, Tamara, are you sure you're not an attorney? Because guess what? I can cite, I can write, I can do everything almost that an attorney can do because of my journalism mass comm degree from Xavier University.
And I couldn't help but notice your credentials that you've obtained while managing your life project in a way. Might I add, I'm impressed because you equip people to take the project management professional certification exam, but you also guide them to gain the proper studying habits and pass it on the first attempt. And if that doesn't speak to your passion of pushing people to reach their full potential, then the 36 recommendations on LinkedIn surely does, because you're definitely suggested. But speaking of the studying habits, let's take a trip down memory lane to revisit your time at Xavier. The year is 1993, and Janet Jackson's That's the Way Love Goes, Not Too Much on Me, is playing in your Sony Walkman.
She said Sony Walkman. I did have one, yes.
Now, this is around the time where you've chosen XU to be the place of study for you. What gave you that factor, or should I say X factor, that made you gravitate towards Xavier during the 90s?
So I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, which is a very conservative Midwest city. And I went to a very, very large school, predominantly white. And I know myself. And so I needed small. I needed black. I needed Southern. I needed a change, a difference. And I knew that Xavier was the place for me. I got into every school. My mom took me to visit Howard in probably the 8th grade, maybe 9th grade. I got Clark. She actually wrote the check for Clark. That's a whole nother story. I had to pretend like I was her and get the money back because I knew once that check cleared at Clark, I was going to be going. Hampton, I can go on and on. Mizzou, that's the school that I probably should have gone to. But for me, no shade on Mizzou. It's an excellent school. I was in all the summer programs. So to me, it was the 13th grade because a lot of people that went to high school with me were going to go to Mizzou. Drake University, I can go on and on. But I know that Xavier was the school for me. And let me tell you, they were the last school to accept me. But I had faith that I was going to be a Xavierite, and proof is in the pudding.
Yes. And how did it feel like just stepping onto that campus that first week, taking in that transition?
It was absolutely amazing. I actually got a chance to go before school, so my mom refused to take me. She took me to every school across the country. However, my mom's line sister, I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I'm Legacy. My mom's line sister took me to visit Xavier the summer before because her daughter was in SOAR. So I did get a chance to tour the campus, and I just knew Xavier was for me. Like I said, I needed small, quaint, and I wanted to graduate. And Xavier, they don't play. They don't play about their students, and I knew that that was going to be the university for me.
I know we can all relate to that previous interaction before we even get into the semester between us and just coming on campus, going through those tours, learning that history.
And I don't know if they do this still, but I lived in KD, and they locked the dorm. So if you missed curfew, first of all, the door was locked. And you had to knock on the door, and they sent your parents a letter home because the internet wasn't out then. I'm really dating myself. So my mom would be like, you missed curfew again. But like I said, the teachers will call you. I don't care if it's raining sideways. You need to get to Xavier South and get to class. And so I knew I needed that. And I'm so glad I made the decision and pushed going to Xavier.
Yes, because Xavier definitely has that community where at first it might seem overwhelming, as if they're all up in your business, but it's just really they care. So they're going to apply that pressure that at times you don't think you might have needed, but it comes full circle. Can you recall someone who was maybe influential at Xavier who provided you that reassurance that this was the right campus for you, like the right fit?
Ooh, one person? Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm going to say my roommates and my friends. I know you probably wanted me to say the dean or one of my professors, but really my lifelong friends that I was able to form at Xavier. Carrie Steele is one of my best girlfriends. She was one of my roommates. And to this day, we are freaking frat. And the relationship, I grew up in, like I said, St. Louis. I have so many friends, Joyce, Azalea, Rhonda. It's a couple Rhondas, Kenya. And we are still friends today, like very good friends. And you need those relationships. People that went to other schools, I'm just going to say other, they do not have the same bonds. They don't understand. And so it's really hard to explain. So that is the benefit of going to a HBCU, especially Xavier. Those relationships, those 25, 30-year relationships.
I just feel it's prominent in that college experience. You go through this pivotal time together where it just bonds you for life. You have a whole community.
The community is amazing. Let me say this. My OBGYN, when I got my colonoscopy, she's a Xavierite. My optometrist, Dr. Janelle, just got my new prescription for my glasses. When I say Xavier takes care of me from head to toe, literally, you cannot go wrong with a Xavier. If they have a Xavier education, you know you're in good hands.
Speaking of that education, for me, I just love starting off the semester the way I intend to finish it. You know, I want to start my fall semester hitting the ground running. But I know sometimes people do better depending on the semester. Which semester for you would you say did you thrive more? That fall semester or maybe spring semester?
I'm going to say fall because I like to be outside. And back in the day on the yard and the step shows and things like that. So sometimes I got a little distracted. I would say the fall. I did love going to other people's homecoming, Southern's homecoming, Howard's, Tennessee State, traveling, going to different HBCUs. But that fall semester, that meant business. And so I was always having my harder classes in the fall. That way I'm focused and I'm doing what I need to do. Now the spring, absolutely, because, Xavier don't play with the grades. They don't play. And don't miss class. That was one thing my mom said. If you ever failed a class, that's one thing, got a bad grade. But she said, I'd be daggone if you fail for FE, failure to attend class. So that was a no-no at Xavier. You have to attend class. And so it was built in for you to succeed. But to answer your question, I love the fall classes.
Give our listeners just a core XU memory from your years of undergrad that you just can't escape.
I would say the Spring Fest. I don't know if you guys have Spring Fest, but Spring Fest were absolutely amazing because that was the opportunity for everybody, the surrounding schools, to come to Xavier, for us to show off Xavier. And then the annual Xavier and Dillard basketball game. That was always a must-attend event. And so those were the highlights of my Xavier life.
Yes, gotta love that Crosstown Classic. Are there any maybe advantages that you could speak on, or maybe even disadvantages that you had in your college career that you like to shed light on?
There are no disadvantages. Let me just say that. No disadvantages, because everything is an advantage, even if you're learning. So some things I could have done different. I could have added different minors to my education. But the advantages, like I said, of going to Xavier is that you're going to succeed. Yes, you have your coursework, but that real world experience, you can't get that in a book. And like I said, the relationships. When you are at a interview, and the interviewee is looking at your resume and you have Xavier University, it is a conversation piece. Everybody knows Xavier University. And so you're always going to go to the top of the interviewing. And as a mass comm major, we have the gift of gab. And let me just tell you, I'm in the Atlanta area. And being non-technical in a very technical, male-dominated field, when I'm interviewing, I've had so many executives tell me, Tamara, do you know you're going against Georgia Tech grads? I am told that over and over and over, that I am interviewing and they're not my competition, but they'll say your competition is a Georgia Tech grad. Guess what? I get the job every time. They admit that they have to hire me because I am going to get the job done. Now, they know that the Georgia Tech grads or whatever engineering school, they have the credentials, the engineering credentials, which calls for a very successful project. However, these companies, they don't have time to play and they need to get things done. So I would say Xavier, the communication degree, pays off dividends. And let me add this. Before my student loans were paid off, my husband would always ask me, were your student loans worth it? Absolutely. Absolutely. I would do it again.
Education itself is just an investment. People say how knowledge is power. You have to be willing to put in that work to get the full turnaround of the power that you're looking for. What impact would you say your time at Xavier had overall on your personal and professional project of life?
It really shaped me into the woman that I am. I can go into any room. Like I said, I can stand up against anybody from any other university. It's just the presence that Xavier gives you. I'm just so proud to just be a HBCU Xavier alumni. And it goes professional and personal. Like I said, you can go to any room. You could be at the airport. I live in Atlanta, the largest airport in the world. I travel extensively and I always wear a Xavier shirt or AKA shirt, and somebody is going to stop me. I am going to run into somebody that went to Xavier or their family went to Xavier, and they're going to stop you. And so it is a conversation piece. It is a networking guru. So I would say you can't separate the personal and the professional. It's intertwined.
How often do you look back on those lessons learned and apply them to your role as Chief Impact Officer?
Lesson learned is one of the cornerstones of project management. A lot of people think that you start a project fresh. You start with the lessons learned. What went wrong? What went right? What could I have done better? That's how I live my whole life. They give credit to Beyonce for coming out with lemonade, making lemons to lemonade. But I've been doing that my whole career. And that is one of the most leading benefits of project management. You never, ever, 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 ever start from scratch. So you always use those lessons learned in your professional life and in your personal life. For instance, me coming to DC, I haven't been here in a long time. And when I have come, I'm in and out. This time I came early and I'm staying late to network with other people that went to Xavier, HBCUs, the federal government. That is a lesson learned. Do not leave this city without reconnecting with people. So you're always looking for those lessons learned.
Define what it means to press forward and fear nothing.
To me, I feel like I owe Nike so much money. I'm a firm believer, just do it. What's the worst that can go wrong? So let me tell you this. I don't know if you know this about me, but I want to share this with you and the listeners. I failed the PMP certification not once, but twice. And my job at the time sent me back and forth. Oh, this is full circle here to DC for 2 years to get a master's certificate in project management and all my contracting classes. Well, everybody in the class would say, Tamara, put your hand down. You know the answer. But guess what? I failed. After 2 years of all these classes, I failed. And then went back to Atlanta, took a 12-week course. Guess what? Failed again. But I knew that piece of paper meant a lot in the workforce, and I'm not a quitter. And so I generally don't have a lot of fear. We have the little butterflies in our stomach, but you just push forward and you put one foot in front of the other. And what's the worst that can happen? I eventually passed. And not only did I pass, but now I know what it takes to succeed. So instead of taking 2 years to pass the PMP certification, I have narrowed it down to less than 30 days. And that is because of perseverance and not letting fear get in the way. Because a lot of people say, well, Tamara, you should be embarrassed that you failed. Who cares? People fail all day. Next, I am not giving up. So I have very little fear. And I'm very adventurous. I like going whitewater rafting and zip lining. So I don't have a lot of fear. I just don't. I travel international by myself if my husband can't go. So I have very little fear.
And I just love that speaks to your spirit of perseverance and how you press forward. What are your hopes for Xavier's future as it continues to press forward and fear nothing in this next century?
I am so excited about Xavier's medical school. I cannot tell you how excited I am. I know I'm not in the medical field, but it just speaks volumes to where Xavier is and the caliber of students that we produce and professionals. So I'm just really excited for Xavier's next 100 years and just all other professional people that we're putting out, not in the U.S., but the world. So I am super excited for everything, all the new majors that they have included, education, physician assistance program, all the majors. The mass comm major was already top notch, but just all the other majors and the exposure that Xavier continues to get.
How have you stayed connected to the Xavier community or even given back since graduating? And how would you encourage others to do the same?
Originally, I was in the Xavier alumni early on, but just for a quick minute. I would say, unfortunately, with HBCUs, traditionally, we don't know that we need to give back. Like I said, I'm a Greek, I'm AKA, and I grew up AKA, so I understand it, but I didn't know that you should do that with your university. However, Xavier is doing a tremendous job now of getting you guys into leadership while you're at Xavier so that you continue to give back as soon as you get out. So right now I'm the second vice president of the Atlanta chapter, which includes membership. We're doing send-offs. We're having fundraisers. We're inviting the undergrads to our event. We just had an event recently. And so just bridging that gap and not just giving our time and talents, but our money. You'd be surprised. The first time I did my big check, we had Give Love Xavier Day, and we always have a happy hour. And I hit submit on that, that number that had a comma. Guess what? I didn't miss it. I did not miss it. And so it becomes easier and easier to give. We buy stuff all the time that just in the closet. So we should be able to give back to the university that has given so much to us. So I would say just straight out of school, just sign up for your alumni association.
Just touch a little bit more on how important it is to bridge that gap, because we're using this platform just to connect our alumni community through conversation.
It is so important. And so we had the privilege of the Atlanta chapter president from Xavier, that's still at Xavier, to come to our event, and a couple students, and my nephew was one of them. He's still at Xavier. And so we were able to bridge that gap. In addition to that, we have younger alumni events. They go bowling, they have extracurricular activities, and make sure that we're doing things to encourage them to come and make it fun. Because no one wants to sign up to something that seems like work, and bridging that gap with the different age groups in the chapter. And so we need your guys' talents, because especially social media. Let's talk about social media. Woo!
Let's get into it.
That is, let me tell you, social media is where it's at. I'm not on some of the other ones. I'm on LinkedIn, but you have to be on social, and we know that. And so just having you guys a part of our chapter with social, because FOMO is real. That's how we're getting our membership. When we have a good time, at these events, people want to come. Just look how far homecoming has come. Woo, we really didn't have a homecoming per se when I was at Xavier. I went a couple years ago, then I took a break. I went 2 years ago. And then this past homecoming, when I say it has 10 times itself, look how far we've come because of social, FOMO, people missing out. So that's what we need to do more of.
Social media has become such a big marketing tool overall, just to, give those glimpses into events that people might have missed. So it's definitely become a big factor in getting out more information to people. Well, now it's time to rush our gold guest into answering some rapid fire questions. This segment of the podcast is called the Xavier Live 5, where I'll ask you 5 questions I think our gold community would love to know. So let me know when you're ready.
I think I'm ready. Go ahead. Let's go.
Okay. What was your go-to meal in college?
Snappy and Popeyes.
What was the best way to stay cool on a sweltering hot day in New Orleans?
Ooh, a daiquiri.
Next question. On a scale of 1 to 10, rate the potholes of New Orleans.
10 being high, I'm going to give it a 9.
One fashion trend in the 90s that you absolutely adored.
I would say the big baggy shorts.
Fill in the blank. One thing no one knows while I attended Xavier is
that I lived in the dorm illegally for a couple weeks.
And that concludes our Live 5 round. It was a pleasure connecting with you again, an outstanding alumni, through conversation. So please just tell our growing GOAT community how they can connect with you online.
So you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Tamara McLemore on LinkedIn. And then you can also go to my website at iwantmypmp.com.
Well, thank you so much again for your time and connecting with me through conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to the Xavier Gold Live podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's show. Now, XU, you know what to do. Join our growing GOAT community on the first Tuesday of every month.
This podcast is available to listen to wherever you listen to your podcast. Do us a favor by subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show today. Make sure to also follow us on social media and subscribe to our monthly newsletter.
This is Xavier Gold Live, the podcast where Xavier's legacy comes to life.